It is time for legends to become real.
Okay, Colin, to start off, I would like you to start explaining the central objective about this living story, this big story arcs, and how exactly do players influence the story?
Yeah, the main objective behind it is really trying to give a sense that the storyline never ends in Guild Wars 2, that every month the story of the world is continuing to keep going and building, and really the world is constantly changing as a result of the storyline. So think of it like your favorite TV show, where every week you get to look forward to the next episode, and the storyline is building because of that. That's really the same feel we want to get out of Guild Wars 2 with this concept of living story. It really is going to be, each month we have an update where the story of the world is continuing. So when you get to the end of your favorite RPG, there's no more story, and you always want to keep playing story in that game, right? You love the world, and the story runs out. Guild Wars 2, our goal is that the story doesn't ever run out, is every month you're able to have another story that gets added to the game. And when it comes in, there's all sorts of new content and storyline that drives that. For the concept of players actually being able to sort of drive those storylines and change them, I think in the short term, that's not what we're going to do. We're going to do it more where we provide a story and players get to experience that story. In the long run, I can see where that's sort of the next step that we take the concept of living story is, different servers could have stories going in different directions, so they actually could even play out differently server to server. I think that would be kind of the next evolution, even beyond what we're doing right now.
What about the frequency of this story that is added to the servers? Is it patch-based? What frequency is it? It's weekly, monthly?
Well, we've been doing, ever since October, we've been doing a patch each month. And within each one of those, there have been core updates. So, we did Halloween as our big storyline and festival in October. In November, we did a story that over the course of a couple weeks led up to the reveal of a brand new area in the game, a new map space, and a brand new dungeon. In November, we did another big festival that the storyline played out where a blimp traveled from city to city to celebrate Christmas and brought little toys that went haywire to the world. And then in January, we started sort of a storyline that actually plays out over the next 3 months and through the end of April. And that story is building in the world, and that's actually had updates almost every week where the patch got put out, but then each week we've had hidden things in the game appearing where the community is all getting together and they're finding refugee camps are getting bigger and there's new NPCs and there's new stories that come on. And I would hope that we're able to do even more of that in the future is, it's not just with patches. We have a lot of stuff on timers that are turning on week by week, so the storyline is really even evolving more frequently than that. I think Living World is going to be a bigger thing for us as the months go by, and we really learn how to do that well. We're really kind of just getting that rolling right now, and that will become even more a part of what Guild Wars 2 is.
And you guys plan it to be something that it's here to stay, or is something that it just came out and will take 4 months and just came back to the way things were?
It'll be a mix of both. So the living storylines will have elements that stay in the world forever, that change the world, or events that stay behind as a result of that storyline. And then they'll have elements that leave after the story is done. And we'll leave characters behind who explain the story. We'll leave elements in the world so you know what happened. But we definitely want to have that sense of some things are permanent and some things you need to be there to experience over the course of a couple weeks and see what's going on. And we like to have both of those.
But there will be specific achievements, for example, for these living stories. If a player misses something, that means that he will never be able to get the achievement again, for example?
Yeah, we try to give them enough time. So if you're regularly playing the game, and by that I mean you're logging in like once a month at minimum, then you're able to get those. But yeah, if they don't play for 3 months and then come back, there is stuff that they will be missing. But we think that that's way better than having basically this concept of, well, we'll have every event stay for 3 months and they overlap each other. We would rather really have this concept of living story, but we're going to keep them around long enough that people who play our game even semi-regularly should be able to experience that stuff.
Okay, passing to the subject of guild mission systems, can you go into more detail on these kinds of missions and how will they differentiate themselves from the regular events that we learn to love?
Yeah, so the guild mission system is this idea that guilds can spend influence that they've earned to basically create content in the world at specific locations for everyone to experience, including the guild. So they come in 5 distinct categories. Guild bounties are missions that a guild kicks off, and bosses will randomly be spawned in specific maps in the world, and you'll get hints about which map it is or where the boss might be near inside that map. And the guild has 15 minutes to go hunt down and find those bosses, turn them on, and when they find them and activate them or discover them, it kicks off an event to kill that boss, and to kill all of them within 15 minutes. So it's really searching the world, trying to find these guys, and taking them out. And the guilds can ask other people to help them. When they find the boss, it actually creates a dynamic event at that place where everybody can jump in and participate and help the help the guild earn its reward. The mission will scale up just like any other event in the world. So the bounties are kind of the basic thing. The next one is guild scavenger hunts, and in this, the guild actually gets sent screenshots of different locations in the game, and they have a timer to actually go find all the locations where the screenshots are to earn credit. And that's really one the guild just does on their own. That is just for the guild to do, and that doesn't create any events. It tracks all of that in the guild panel. The next guild type is guild rushes, and these are basically sort of racetracks almost, where the guild goes and they get turned into chickens or spectral wolves, and they have to run through this track and survive the obstacle course to get to the end. And they have to complete it a certain number of times across the entire guild to complete it in time. And they can get other players can come join them for that as well. So when a guild kicks off a guild rush, it starts this new type of event that's new to the game. We really don't have anything like this right now. And then every player can go up there and get turned into a chicken and run the relay race too. And not only does the guild get rewards for it, but any player who helps out also gets rewards. So it's really kind of creating this community-driven aspect where guilds can show off to the world, people can see the guilds, and then they can help the guilds do their jobs. There are guild missions, which are really big open-world events. These take usually about 20 people at minimum to do. And the guilds usually are the only ones who can complete certain aspects of it, but all other players can come in and help the guild in the remaining areas. An example is like there are 5 towers, and you need to destroy them all within 5 seconds of one another. And so it takes a lot of coordination between the guild, and only people in the guild can harm the towers, but all other players can kill all the other creatures in the area to help defend the towers, or defend the players so that they can destroy it. So it creates sort of a cooperation there. And those are creating events out in the world that don't exist right now either. And that's really kind of a new category of event, as well as ones that take that many people to do at minimum. And then the last type is guild puzzles. And these are actually new places in the world that we're adding for the first time. And they're actually complicated puzzles that the guild has to work together to solve. So it might be getting a bunch of things in a maze and bringing them together to solve the maze, or going through a big jumping puzzle. And those are things where they can bring other players in to help them complete them as well. And those puzzles are unlocked for everyone in the world once a guild unlocks it.
You talked about the rewards. I'm curious to know more about the difference between the rewards for the individual players who just help the guild or the guild as a whole.
So yeah, there are, if you participate in a guild mission and successfully complete it, the regular players get all the event credit that they would normally ever get. If they were in the guild, they get bonus credit for it. For certain mission types, like if it's a guild race, there can be treasure chests at the end that they also get additional rewards for. And the individual guild credit that the player gets, they can turn those in for new unique rewards. Things like, siege weapons that have your guild emblem on them, a thing that lets you turn into your guild flag whenever you want so you can show off your guild. Some of the ascended gear will go on there as well as on the laurel vendors, so you can pick which way you want to get them. And it is a little bit faster to earn them off the guild vendors than off the laurel ones. So people who are in guilds can opt to get them that way for the ascended accessories. And then your guild also earns a reward. And it's a guild-specific reward, and that guild currency that individuals get and the guild reward, those are time-limited, so people in the guild and the guild can only earn them once per week, so that small guilds can keep up with the big guilds and actually be able to play that content as well. And those guild-specific rewards can get turned in for things like reduction in waypoint costs for your entire guild for a period of time, reduction in armor repair costs, things like that are really big benefits to your whole guild.
Okay, I was gonna ask you if that means the new currency, but I think you already answered that.
Yeah, it's so the individual reward that you get is actually a token that goes in your inventory, and then the guild currency goes right up next to influence. It's a new little guild badge that you get.
On the subject of PvP, don't you feel that rated PvP will increase the need for balance in the game as a whole between the professions?
Absolutely. Any time that you start building towards an esport. Balance is always important. No matter what, it's always going to be very, very important to us. One of the most interesting graphs that we have at the office that we actually use all the time to help determine, are we doing a good job balancing the game, is there's a profession creation graph. And we use that to show how many of each profession is being created. And if you look at a lot of games, the graph is a couple professions are way up here and everything else is down here.
Cookie cutter, normal.
Yeah. I mean, Guild Wars 1 had that, there were certain professions that were just, everybody made those, and then the rest were very uncommon. And a lot of that is because they're not as good in certain parts of the game or the other. In Guild Wars 2, the graph is almost right down the middle. Engineer is a little bit lower than all the rest, Warrior is a little bit higher, Guardian's a little bit higher, but they're all very close together, which is really interesting to see. You just don't see that very often in a game. And that's a really nice compliment to the guys who are working on profession balance and the skills on them. Of course, that doesn't mean they're done, and there's tons of work that they need to do to keep updating the skills in the game and balancing them. My hope would be we get to a point where we're comfortable enough with the core meta that it's not something we change every month. We're able to let it sit for 2 or 3 months, people build strategies, adjust to those, and then we adjust the meta a little bit based on that. So it's a little bit more like what you commonly see in an esport. But we need to get that core balance all up to the point that we're really happy with it first, and then we're going to start doing those less often changes.
Okay. On Spirit Watch PvP map, players will take a ball and then return it to one of the 3 bases to get credits. Will this work more like a traditional capture the flag map, or more like Utball, if you know it? Where you can pass the ball to your teammates and it's like scoring a goal?
So we have our version of sort of hut ball, or passing the ball to your teammates. We have that in our Norn Keg Brawl, which is a mini game that's already in game right now. And so we feel like we shouldn't make a game that's an exact duplicate of that, since we've already got it. So our orb that you capture in this Spirit Watch map, it plays a lot more like capture the flag. Most of the time, the games that I've been in, it feels very much like the orb and the flag is the main objective of the map, and the capture points is sort of the secondary objective, which is a really nice twist for us. All our other PvP maps, the capture points are really the primary objective, and then there's always a secondary objective that changes up the gameplay a little bit. I feel like this is the first map that we've built where it really kind of goes the other way around, and I think that it adds a little bit more tactics and strategy. It really changes the way you play the game a little bit, and I think people are going to really enjoy this. I know our alpha testers have had a lot of fun playing with this map in particular, so I'm really excited to see it get out there.
Personally, I think WVW is one of the best things about Guild Wars.
Well, thank you.
What do you think of mixing it a little bit with the PvE? What do you think of a big dragon, for example, going into a WVW map and being hostile for all the 3 factions?
I think that could be crazy and fun if done right. There's a lot of challenges, right? I think that any time that we add an element like that, what you don't want to do is you don't want to take away the feel that somebody who did everything required to take over a castle or a keep loses that from some random encounter or some random luck. I think we don't want to make it so that the things that we're adding to World versus World take away from the core reasons you play World versus World. I think, for example, the jumping puzzle did a little bit of that. It's super fun. It's really fun to go in there and grieve people and jump around and kill each other and have your server capture it. But I think because it's taking away population from Eternal Battleground, so that people aren't playing World versus World who want to do that, I'm not sure it's the best thing for us. I think at some point we'll either split that off into its own map or separate that out so it's you can just as easily play it, but it's for the people who want to do that. I think the dragon comes with the same risk. Is how do we integrate that so it feels like it's a compelling part of World versus World rather than just a PvE element sort of slapped into World versus World. And that will always be a challenge for us. Another one is we need to finish addressing issues with culling before we put in any more events that make a whole lot of people go to one place.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's coming along really well. We've had a huge chunk of engineering work done on culling. It's been a major focus for us for since the game shipped. It's just a huge project to take on. And it's basically rebuilding all the way that assets are loaded in our game. But we've seen some really compelling results from that, and hopefully
so you can see more people.
Yeah, depending on your computer. If your computer's not very good, you might just see all their name tags, so you can at least see how many people are there. Which I think
they're there. Yeah,
that's the most important part, right? And then as you're based on your settings, you'll start seeing more of the people or them in low res and higher res, things like that. But that's what we're shooting for, and we think that it'll add a lot to the World versus World experience when we can get that in.
Players seem to be reacting well to the idea of selective daily achievements. You ever consider selectable monthlies as well?
We've talked about it. I think our real focus right now is making sure that the daily experience is as strong as we can. One of the achievements in the monthly is doing X number of dailies, so it actually kind of accomplishes that, where you get to pick which dailies you want to do your monthly. But I could see in the long run us applying that to the monthly as well. I think that it's a very Guild Wars thing to let people choose the content that they're excited about, do the things that they want to do and get rewarded for it. I think that's part of what our game's all about, and so I could definitely see that being expanded.
Okay. What about making Karma account-wide?
We'll have to see. We've talked about it. We're not actively working on it right now, but there's endless thousands of topics we debate all the time, and that's certainly one of the ones that we talk about. We'll just have to see. I think that one of the nice things about Karma not being account wide, and certain players will definitely disagree with this, is each time you play a new character through the game, it does mean that there are a bunch of rewards that character has to earn specifically for karma. Whereas gold can be shared, items can be shared as long as they're not or as long as they're character bound, and karma can limit some of that. So it feels like the things that you're earning, you get to earn again. So there is some sense of progression. It's just something we all have to look at and see down the road. How much are we actually getting out of karma being one character only? It's going to take a lot of evaluation to see.
Okay. Now, my last question is it's a little bit filled with faith and curiosity.
Yes.
In your personal opinion, which Elder Dragon you think would have the best setup for the first expansion?
Huh. That's a good question. I would say if I was a Guild Wars 1 fan, I would be most excited about probably Jormag. Let me take that back. I am a Guild Wars 1 fan, but amongst the Guild Wars 1 fans, they would probably say Jormag is the one that's the most interesting for them, just because it's up north. We've had a lot of experience with the Shiver Peaks and the Norn. That story is very apparent in there. I think that is really compelling. That doesn't necessarily mean that is the first dragon we will do, though. We may surprise people with something different in a storyline that they don't expect. We'll have to see. But I think that would be Guild Wars 1. That's probably their top one. Maybe the Crystal Dragon, to see stories with Glint and how all of that ties together. I could see that being really compelling as well. The Jungle Dragon, that's a whole region of Maguma and has a lot of history in Guild Wars 1. There's potential for that being exciting as well. And then people like to call the Water Dragon Bubbles, and with a name like Bubbles,
that's why I said your personal opinion. Sorry.
Yeah.
If you had to choose.
Yeah.
Okay, got nothing else. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem.